touched on the topic of the Bhakti-lata Bija. We also touched on the topic of becoming a gardener, if you were in class this morning. I think, I don't know if any, Vilas and Sadhana, you also took part, I think, in sponsoring a Chaitanya Charitamrita set this morning. Your gardeners. Anyone else was here involved in that? Maybe Ganga, you also sponsored, didn't you, this morning? No.
I didn't sponsor this morning.
Not this morning. Don't worry, there's another morning tomorrow.
We've got it on recording.
Yeah, if you don't want to sponsor a set, don't come to class.
I will sponsor Gurudev.
Yeah, we have to find someone to distribute it to as well. We find, with sponsoring books, it's harder to find someone to take it than it is to get it sponsored.
That was a good way of saying, who doesn't have one. That was good.
Pardon?
You asked who didn't have a set.
Yeah.
So then we could see who needed one.
Yeah, there's not much point asking.
So the two that we sponsored were two of the young ones that are getting married.
Oh, very nice.
So both of the
two married couples. Huh?
Yes, yeah. So we thought, well, that's their wedding present.
Oh, that's really nice. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Maybe
Nice
we can
wedding.
give it to Padmalochan. Padmalochan is getting married as well.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go. You just have to find a partner.
He hasn't got a partner
He
yet.
have a partner.
He doesn't have a partner?
Yes, he does.
He does.
Yeah. Rajakunda.
Yeah.
Oh, who wants to go with me then?
Oh, God, Ganga.
Another one.
Was it $200 or something? Very cheap. Very cheap. Very cheap. How much do we sell? This is, I think, ours a little bit more expensive in Europe. Just a little bit. I think. Not much, though.
We paid only $103.
You're not supposed to tell me that. Oh, come on.
Oh, she's the
What a thing to say.
Profit.
So, we know what she's going to do now. She's going to take the 100 off of him and give $3. Hey, listen, you're not supposed to say that. God, dear me. What type of treasure are you?
Good quality for treasure, actually.
It was $103. That was for the shipping. That wasn't for the books. You're going to go out. Oh, wait, no. Wonderful. Well, go for it. That's fantastic. Huh?
200.
Huh?
That was 100 each.
100 each, yeah. 51.50 each, is it? 51.50 each. He's giving a special discount here. No, you've got to get the mercy. One thing, and it's just my realization, I don't know if it's a root in Shastra, but, when we approach Krishna, we always say that you have to go through the devotees, isn't it? And ultimately you have to go through Krishna. If it's Krishna, you have to go through Radharani, isn't it? You can't just say, hey, Krishna, here I am. Who's that girl with you? Come on, out the way, young lady. It's me now. You can't deal with Krishna like that. It's simply by taking shelter of Radharani, and if she so desires, everything's ultimately by the mercy of Radha we can approach Krishna. Or by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya we can approach Radharani.
I just thought the temple president was like our gateway also to. Yeah, is that true?
He's a gateway to
The spiritual world.
well, it depends.
Like
Depends on your temple president. Uh-oh. You're not doing bad here, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Don't start getting, don't start a coup or something. Yes, of course, there's a whole process. I mean, again, where you'll find this in Shastra. You okay out there? What are you doing?
Just filming this, Maharaj.
Pardon?
I'm just filming the class.
Oh, that's the old.
camera stand.
As long as someone doesn't close the shutters. again, this is coming from one of their junior sannyasis, but he was explaining how this works. And I don't have a Shastric reference, but it's logic. That to approach Krishna only by the grace of Radharani. And to get the grace of Radharani, of course, I mean, it's like if you, even in the association of devotees here, you may go direct, and that may happen, but if you displease, Prabhupada said this, if you displease the other devotees, then you're not really pleasing the spiritual master. We have to also understand that to approach Radharani, we have to please her inner circle. In other words, we don't go straight to Radharani. There will be, whatever it is, Gopir Bhatta, Padakamalam, Dasa, 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 and Dasa. Servant of the servant. Now this is on the spiritual plane. We only think of it in this world, but it's in the spiritual plane also. It's not like, okay, which party are you in? Oh, I'm going to be in Lalita's party. Which party are you in? Oh, Vishaka. No. Tunga Vijay. Tunga Vijay. Lalita. I'm Lalita's party. No, that definitely doesn't entail one to enter into the spiritual world. But even if one is qualified, still one works under that principle. The servant of the servant, 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 servant. So whatever it is, but the maid servants of Radharani under whatever party happens to be, if you're in that mood, or the Gopas, whatever it is, it's a line, you could say. It's the same thing. You have a disciplic succession practically, over this time. There's a time frame in this world. There's no time frame in the spiritual, whatever is eternal. But it's the same principle. Succession up to Krishna. And there's no feeling of being, a million, what did Bhaktisiddhanta say? What's that statement say? But, we're like hundreds, thousands down the line or something. That's not the point. That's not the feeling. One feels completely connected to bringing pleasure to Krishna. Something in the material world we may not feel so much. So then, how to get the mercy of those associates of Srimati Radharani? That's all by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Oh. And how do you get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya? Pardon? Lord Nityananda. And how do you get the mercy of Lord Nityananda?
Harina?
So that's a practical activity, but in terms of this, let's say, relationship, through the disciplic succession of pure devotees, the representative of Lord Nityananda, spiritual master, whatever you understand of that. But it's from the spiritual master. He is the representative of Lord Nityananda. And how do you get the mercy of the spiritual master? You serve the temple president, of course. You can't get that mercy unless you do what I tell you to do. Isn't it? There's no other way. You really opened a can of worms. Two can of worms, one over there, and now one here.
She's in the good books. I'm not in the good books.
I think this is worse. But in principle, yes. It's by the representative of the spiritual master. This is how it goes. It's not just jump over. Well, you have to use your common sense. I mean, this is the servant of the servant, 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 servant. Now, it is very pleasing to Krishna. That's how Krishna reciprocates. It's not direct. It's direct, but not direct. Achinchya Veda Veda Tapa. Sometimes you want it to. Certainly Krishna accepts it. Not like medicine. Oh boy, I'm 10,000 down the line. Whatever it is. So that's the principle. So that's the idea, that we approach this humble way. And it's not just for the temple, it's for everyone. Everyone's a representative. Every Vaishnava particularly is, we have to realize that. Service to the Vaishnava is the gateway. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said several times the same thing. The gateway, I think in my computer I could read the quote. The gateway to pure devotional service is service to the Vaishnavas and service to There's no other way in. Shriya Vaishnava Seva Nishtaya Educated. Narottam Das Thakur says, without service to the Vaishnava, nobody can go back to God. Serving the Vaishnava. And how we serve the Vaishnava, that's a detail. But the principle of serving the Vaishnava is the secret to go back to God. That's the most pleasing thing. And beyond that, it says, that how you get the mercy of the Lord, not beyond, but inclusive, and that was mentioned just now. Somebody said Harinam. Who said Harinam? So that's inclusive. And he said, because Lord Nityananda, when we say Lord Nityananda in one sense, we mean he's the Adi Guru, he's the original Guru, he's the representative. All Gurus are supposed to be, expansions, and not physical expansions. I'm Nityananda, or Lord Nityananda, or someone else is Nityananda, no. But in terms of their, let's say, the spirit is the spirit of Nityananda. This comes in and out, through, transparent through, one who is taking shelter of the Nityananda, or taking shelter of the bona fide spiritual master. And Nityananda will be empowered by Lord Nityananda. But describe that in order to get that mercy of Nitai, one has to preach to the Jagais and the Madhais. We're also Jagais, at least I am. I'm not qualified, I don't know about Madhai. I'm not that qualified. At least Madhai was the heavy one of the two, but whatever. The mentality, that mentality they represent. Everyone's like that. Lord Nityananda himself said it. When Lord Chaitanya wanted to kill Madhai because Madhai had struck Madhai on the head with a pot. Everything is for the sake of, you could say, transcendental aspect. Not that Madhai's body is mundane, but blood appeared there. And Lord Chaitanya wanted to immediately sever the heads of both of them then, because he saw that Jaga was holding Madhai back. He just wanted to cut Madhai's head. And then Lord Nityananda held Lord Chaitanya back. And if you have to kill these two fellows, you have to kill everyone. Because practically everyone in Kali Yuga is like a Jaga and a Madhai. So that's the mission of Lord Nityananda, to preach to the Jagais and Madhais. So we're going out and preach, or even here and preach. Many people come here, obviously different levels of consciousness, but same principle is there. We try to give them the opportunity, which Lord Nityananda rather does, of enabling, just like we have the pastime of Raghunath Das Goswami and Anjali, and how Raghunath Das Goswami was constantly trying to leave home and join Lord Chaitanya, but every endeavor he had failed until he got the mercy of Nityananda. That's why Nityananda called him a thief, because he said, "You're trying to get my Nima, my Gora. You're trying to get Gora, but you can't. He's mine." So first of all, you have to through Nityananda. He's my property. You can't take my property. You're a thief. You're trying to steal my property. You have to surrender to me. It's just an example of eternal associate. Shows the method of actually approaching Radha and Krishna. And there are many other statements you could say. Well, it says elsewhere that by going through the books of the six Goswamis, it says elsewhere by worship of the dead. It says different things. This is the personal link goes through the system, through the Parampara. The one who serves the will of the Parampara. You have to serve their will. You can't do it our way. We have to serve according to their will. Because their will is that which pleases Krishna. We may want to please Krishna. If we really want to please Krishna, then we have to understand from those who are pleasing Krishna how to please Krishna. That is. Preaching is not just a matter of just doing books or speaking about Krishna. Prabhupada said when he was in Mayapur, many other places, one example comes to mind when Prabhupada was in Mayapur, probably about early days when they were in Mayapur, maybe 72, 3 or 4, I don't know, early days. And when devotees, senior devotees, the oldest sannyasi in Amudan, Trivikram Swami, he was in Korea, and he was a little bit lonely, and he really didn't really could do much. He couldn't speak the language, the people were very Buddhistic or atheistic or Christian. It was very difficult to make any headway. So he decided he wanted to go back to the West and preach in the field where he felt he could be effective. But he went to Mayapur because Prabhupada was in Mayapur with the intention of just informing Srila Prabhupada of his move. So he went there and said to Srila Prabhupada. Well, actually Srila Prabhupada was wondering, before he arrived, he was thinking, we need devotees here in Mayapur. There's not very many devotees, especially senior devotees. Then somebody told him that Trivikram Maharaj had just arrived. And Prabhupada wanted to see him immediately. So he called Trivikram Swami to his room, and Trivikram Maharaj asked him what was he doing, and he explained what he wanted to do, and so on. Prabhupada said, you stay here in Mayapur. And then Trivikram Maharaj said, but Prabhupada, I want to preach. Prabhupada said, preaching means you assist me in the mission. Whatever the pure devotee, he knows what pleases Krishna. Preaching means pleasing Krishna ultimately. There's no question of particular activity. The real preacher, we're systems, we're kind of a system. But the real preacher is in a different level. On this level he behaves like a Madhyamati. The Madhyamadikari is always thinking of the conditioned soul, how fallen, how unfortunate they are, how to give them mercy, preaches to the innocent, avoids the atheistic, envious people. And there's some discrimination there. Madhyamadikari doesn't. His only mood is how to relieve Radharani from her distress. We have one obvious example is Rathayatra, but other things are there too, other ways of seeing that, even from our level. Is every one of us is part and parcel of the world. We're all Mame Vanksa Jiva Jiva Bhuta. Every one of us is actually meant to bring pleasure to Krishna. We're not in this conditioned world bringing pleasure to Krishna. We're more or less doing the opposite. So this, imagine if we, it's not difficult to imagine actually. It's not kind of some speculation. Would Radharani be more pleased if there were more souls bringing more pleasure to Krishna or not?
Yeah.
Would she be more pleased? You think so? Do you think so?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would be, wouldn't you? I mean, on our little tiny worlds that we're in, if somebody's bringing more pleasure to your beloved, then more pleasure.
Doesn't Radharani push people to Krishna herself sometimes?
Well, when they're at that point.
Yeah.
When they're at, that's on the spiritual plane. That's another inter-loving relationship, isn't it? But we're talking of conditioned souls, we're not talking of Nitya-Siddhas, or those who've reached that platform of consciousness. Talking of conditioned souls. So the eternal associates, you could say, what is their desire? They want to bring more pleasure to Krishna ultimately. And it's clear, that means pleasing Radharani. The more Radha's pleased, the more Krishna is pleased. They're always thinking how to bring what does Radharani want. What would please Radharani? Because that's what's pleasing Krishna, not what pleases me. We're pleasing to Radha. So with more conditioned souls, I mean, it's so distant from the absolute, you can say in one sense, what difference does it make? But it does. The more the merrier, as we say in English. It's not referring to this, but we use this term. And there's a way feels it. It's not just out of compassion for the fallen souls, it's out of compassion for Krishna. It's his parts and parcels. So we can give a very down-to-earth example. Now, I don't know how many children everyone here has. Sadhna, you have what, 5 children? Vilas?
4.
4? Any rises on 5? How many does Krishna Kirtan go?
3, 4.
3, 4?
4 boys.
4. And where were we just now?
Rupa Raghunath.
Rupa Raghunath.
He's
Now
got
6. Isn't it?
3.
5.
5 also?
Yeah.
5. Yeah, the both here, it's good they've got a few children. It's nice to see children. And the population of the world is going to change its demography dramatically very soon. But, you know, of course they're individuals, they're independent. But especially when they're little ones, they're very dependent. They're 1 year, 2 years old, they just learn to walk. They're completely dependent on their parents. And you feel like that. And what's the most painful thing for a mother? Okay, I'm going to do that maybe a little bit.
When they leave home.
Well, imagine they're 1 or 2 years old and they get lost. Maybe that's not, but I'm just saying that. 1 or 2 year old child gets lost. You're at a fair, you're at the beach. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. You want a chair?
No, they're saying I think smell something burning. I don't think I have any.
Something burning?
It's cooking smell.
Yeah, it's good.
Right. You're right. There's something cooking. I don't know if
She's a
it's
cook.
burning.
She's a cook.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't have
But the
to be
oven
a
out
cook to
there.
smell. But cooks are extra sensitive to that. There's something. It's not necessarily burning, but there's something cooking. So, you know, say your kid, a little 1 year old, 2 year old child, just learned to walk and you're at the beach and you can't find them anywhere. It's a crowded beach or a Bondi beach or some crazy place. And there's a million people there and you can't, how do you feel? You're going mad, aren't you? You're going crazy. Absolutely crazy. The kid's going crazy too. Screaming and crying and nobody knows what to do. Maybe you're at the other end of the beach, maybe God knows what's happening. The first word is drowned in the ocean. Next word is somebody's stolen the child. You know, all kinds of horrible thoughts go through your heart, isn't it? It's torture. Torture for the mother. Torture on the mother as well, of course. There's torture. So what's the best thing you can do for that child and the mother? Say, for instance, you happen to be the one who realized that this child is completely lost. It's without his mother and father, crying like anything. What are you going to try to do? What's the best thing you can do?
I think I would chant because what else could you do?
Well, no, I mean from the person who finds the child.
Look for the mother.
Well, you want to reconnect that
Yeah.
child with the mother, don't you?
Yeah.
By hook or by crook. Any human being would want to do that. It's natural, is it not? Unless you're a crook yourself, you know? You know what I mean? Or you're completely heartless. You want to see that child reconnected with its parents. By some means or another. Nothing else will satisfy that mother, is it? Oh, don't worry about it. You can have another one. Oh, what, you know, not the end of the world. How old are you anyway? It's no problem. That is definitely not going to satisfy. Look, what if I give you £10,000? Will you forget about this? No way. Come on, come over. We'll have a drink over at the bar. Forget about it. Nothing. She'll just smack you or scream. You know, nothing in the universe can appease her. Nothing. Isn't it? Even her own husband. Huh?
When we were in Vrindavan, my 2 boys, someone with a friend of theirs or something, took them to Mathura. And there was the special occasion where they could go in the Jamuna, 1 day of the year or something. But no one told us, and they were just missing. And everyone was like, oh, it's all right, Mataji. Just, you know, it's in the holy Dham.
Oh, that's great. They've disappeared totally down. You're a successful mother. You're very successful.
I was beside myself, you know, where are they?
Don't worry even if they've left their body in the human. There's nothing to worry about. It doesn't ring, does it? It's just not on. Not on. So in one sense, I only a few in this material universe. But the principle is there. Radharani is the ocean of compassion. So when some of Krishna's parts and parcels are not, they're lost in this material world, what does she want? She wants to reconnect them to her beloved. She wants them to bring pleasure to Krishna, doesn't she? So that's the Uttamadhikara's heart, it's a heart of compassion. But the compassion is primarily for Radharani because she's feeling distressed. Even Krishna may not be himself, thinking like that. He is in the form of Chaitanya. But this is the mood of Radharani. It's not just her own separation, but it's a separation of the parts and parcels who are separated from Krishna. Not just because they're separate, but because Krishna's could be, they're not necessarily even suffering. The pleasure could increase. Radharani's position, he's suffering. And Krishna's, just his pleasure could increase. Whichever way you look at it, this ends up as the same thing. Somehow or other to reconnect those living entities to Krishna. So that's the Krishna. And he takes the part of relativity, you could say, as a Madhyamadikari, and teaches others how to act in that way, to reconnect with Krishna. And the methodology is absolutely perfect, because it's not just a methodology, a sadhana, which leads to a sadhya. The sadhana itself is the sadhya. That's the unique thing about Lord Chaitanya. It's not just a process. Like in most ways, you follow this and you get that, But this, you follow this, you get this. You chant the holy names in congregational chanting, and that's the perfection. That is already the sadhya, the goal. To be absorbed constantly in the holy name of Krishna. Everything is there. Not some austerities and dangerous mat approaching here. Does it bite? Leave me alone. I'm boiling hot. I'm actually completely overheated. As I said earlier, when my body is so exhausted, it just gets hotter and hotter. Up to there.
Hose you down?
Huh? I have to go and jump in the river.
You went for a swim last night?
Yeah, we had a
Yeah.
swim last night. That was good. It made a lot of difference. A lot of difference. Yeah, you've got to do that. We're not on that platform of Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj. Sometimes I say, well, Maharaj, there's so many examples, and other times he may have done differently to show the devotees, but on his own account, he had no interest in these things, like going and taking baths in holy places and so on. So what time do we have for that? So wait, we have no time for that. We should just simply be hearing and chanting. Yes. But to show others, we're not on that level. As Prabhupada did, he said, if you could just chant and hear constantly 24 hours a day, that's all that you require. So you can't do that, therefore, and it's also necessary to obviously preach Krishna consciousness. You can't just aloof yourself from everyone and expect that to happen. But, to connect with people, to engage in so many different acts of service, activities in this world, connecting those in relationship with Krishna. This is preaching. So this is what preaching is. To work cooperatively. In the spiritual world, you don't necessarily, you have free will, and that's there, mostly, but it ultimately is Krishna's will. Whatever he wants. That's what we hear every day in the suggestion. I want this, Krishna. I want to do this, Krishna. Whatever you want with me, Krishna, you can do as you wish. Refresh me while you embrace me with broken heart. Do as you wish, my Lord. I am always yours. You're always my worshipful Lord, unconditional. No condition. Whatever you do. That's just something which we all aspire for. Come to that level. That's freedom. When you have no conditions. People think freedom is to be able to fulfill your conditions, isn't it? But it's not. It's finding that we remain in this mentality of, for me, this conditional life that keeps us bound up. But when we're free of that, absolutely no condition whatsoever. That's actual freedom. This time, instrument for Krishna's love. Just as we read last night in Prabhupada's poem, Markandeya Bhagavatam, Prabhupada was expressing that mood. So let's quickly read a little bit before lunch, whatever you call it. And as I open here on chapter 9, he's talking about becoming a garden. These verses are some extraordinary verses. And I remember going back to 1980. In 1980 I was living in the north of England and in a derelict house, trying to do a little service there alone. And now and again I'd hitchhike down to, no money, hitchhike down to the temple in the Midlands, about 200 or 300 miles south. Hitchhiking. And hitchhiking one day, I remember going down, hitchhiking. It was a very amazing experience. The first experience is hitchhiking down. I stood there in a place called Newcastle, hitchhiking for about 3 hours. There's like 50 other people also hitchhiking. In those days, so many people were hitchhiking. You don't see that. You remember those days? Are they in Australia? I don't know, but in England, Europe, everyone was, all the young people were hitchhiking. You know, any crossroads, any junction onto a highway, there'd be like 10, 20, 30, 40 young people with their backpacks all hitchhiking. And people used to pick them up, especially the lorry drivers. And many times they stopped, they're bored, and they let to have someone sat next to them while they driving down the highway. And, you know, I talked about, there's like a line, you know, and it's like, so you gradually move up the waiting list till you get to the end, and then you're in the, because I'm dressed like this, so I wasn't so popular maybe, but someone I got a lift, and this went on all day long, one by one by one. I started like 6 in the morning, and normally it takes about 6 hours, but this day was a bit slow. And it's like 10 o'clock at night, and 11 o'clock at night or something. I was like maybe 30 miles from the temple, and then somebody picked me up. And everyone who picked me up, believe it or not, was interested. Because when you're dressed like that, they know you're something funny. They're not an ordinary, there's something wrong with you. So they're interested to know what's wrong with you. So then they talk and ask you, what's up with you? You know, why are you dressed like this? Fancy dress or something? What's going on here? You didn't just escape from the nut house, did you? Different persons make different comments. They're usually a bit, and usually all day long, you know, you're talking to somebody, it comes around to Krishna. The last lift dropped me off, and they dropped me off in the middle of nowhere. It was 11 o'clock at night, it was dark, it was a little country lane with no sign of a building in any direction. And they couldn't even see practically, there was no traffic. 30 minutes, I didn't see a single car on this little road. And I'm stuck there, it's damn cold. And then what am I going to do now? I didn't even know where I was. I knew I was somewhere. Not too far, but no way I could do anything about it. So I didn't know what to do, 20, 30 miles away. What to do now? I didn't know what to do. So all of a sudden, a car, I could see lights coming around the corner. And this car whizzled by. It was a Volvo car. Volvos were considered to be kind of a decent car. Those days, they weren't small, they were big in those days, big Volvos. I thought, my God, I thought for a minute, because many of the devotees had, somehow or another, they had Volvo cars, many of them. It was a fashion in those days. And, most of the devotees had Volvo cars. And I thought, maybe it's a devotee driving on this road at this time of night. Like Krishna can do anything, I thought. And the car suddenly went slowly, came to a standstill about 50 meters down the road. So I thought, this is a miracle. A miracle. Krishna's really reciprocating here. That was like you say, I was just chanting. All day long I was just chanting when I didn't get away. And then I went up to the car, and the window opened, and there was a very well-to-do and posh-looking lady sat in the driving wheel. And she said, where are you going? And I said, Croom Court near Pershwa. Croom Court? Oh. I live right next to there. Jump in. And she said, I've never picked anyone up in my life before. You were the first person. I never picked each other, especially at night. But I picked you up because I can trust you. By the way you were dressed. That's what she said. it was kind of amazing end to the day. But after that, I was just thinking, I don't know why, but it came to my mind. I wrote this article, which was based upon these verses. I can tell you one of the most funny stories in my Sankirtan life about hitchhiking, but I'll read that from you. So this is going to the 9th chapter of the Adi Leela. Where shall we start? At the end. Here. Since Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the original trunk, we're talking of this tree, this Sankirtan tree, a great tree which is growing in this world. He's the original trunk. The taste of the fruits that grew on the branches and sub-branches surpassed the taste of nectar. The fruits ripened and became sweet and nectarian. The gardener, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributed them without asking any price. All the wealth in the 3 worlds cannot equal the value of one such nectarian fruit of devotional service. Not considering who asked for it and who did not, nor who was fit and who was unfit to receive it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed the fruit of devotional service. I will talk about how without discrimination. Without discrimination, we just heard about discrimination, but still, without discrimination means we go everywhere and chant the holy name. We do reciprocate according to the people therein, but you give that fruit, opportunity of that fruit to everyone, isn't it? You don't go to Moorlambar and sort of say, hey, don't chant, that person's over there. You just chant, right? You don't discriminate particularly. I mean, of course, if they behave in certain ways, we may react, but in principle, we give the holy name to everyone. We don't do anything, we're just instruments, but we make that available to everybody. We're just instruments for the holy name to give it to appear for everyone's benefit. We don't discriminate like that. The transcendental gardener, Prabhupada says, the only purpose of the preachers of the Sankirtan movement must be to go on preaching without restriction. That is the way in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the Sankirtan movement to the world. The transcendental gardener, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, distributed handful after handful of fruit in all directions, and when the poor, hungry people ate the fruit, the gardener smiled with great pleasure. Lord Chaitanya thus addressed the multifarious varieties of branches and sub-branches of the tree of devotional service. Prabhupada says how this ISKCON is one of those branches. Since the tree of devotional service is transcendental, every one of its parts can perform the action of all the others. Although the tree is supposed to be immovable, this tree nevertheless moves. All the parts of this tree are spiritually cognizant, and thus, as they grow up, they spread all over the world. And Lord Chaitanya continued, I am the only gardener. How many places can I go? How many fruits can I pick and distribute? It would certainly be a very laborious task to pick the fruits and distribute them alone, and still I suspect that some would receive them and others would not. Therefore, I order every man within this universe to accept this Krishna consciousness movement and distribute it everywhere. I am the only gardener. If I do not distribute these fruits, what shall I do with them? How many fruits can I alone eat? By the transcendental desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, water has been sprinkled all over the tree, and thus there are innumerable fruits of love of Godhead. Distribute this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Let people eat these fruits and ultimately become free from old age and death. If the fruits are distributed all over the world, my reputation as a pious man will be known everywhere, and thus all people will glorify my name with great pleasure. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. It is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. By his work, thoughts, and words, an intelligent man must perform actions which will be beneficial for all living entities in this life and in the next. I am merely a gardener. I have neither a kingdom nor very great riches. I simply have some fruits and flowers that I wish to utilize to achieve piety in my life. Although I am acting as a gardener, I also want to be the tree, for thus I can bestow benefit upon all. Just see how these trees are maintaining every living entity. Their birth is successful. Their behavior is just like that of a great personality, for anyone who asks anything from a tree never goes away disappointed. The descendants of the tree, the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, were very glad to receive this order directly from the Lord. The fruit of love of God is so tasteful that wherever a devotee distributes it, those who relish the fruit anywhere in the world immediately become intoxicated. The same word is mentioned there, mata, intoxicated, which we had this morning in class. Same word. The fruit of love of Godhead distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such a great intoxicant that anyone who eats it, filling his belly, immediately becomes maddened by it, and automatically he chants, dances, laughs, and enjoys. Is Ganga here today? You want to enjoy? There you go. It's a process, okay? That's nice. He was very eager to enjoy. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great Garda, sees that people are chanting, dancing, and laughing, and that some of them are rolling on the floor, and some are making loud humming sounds, he smiles with great pleasure. And Prabhupada writes to the purport. This attitude of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very important for persons engaged in the Hare Krishna movement of Krishna consciousness. In every center of our institution, ISKCON, we have arranged for a love feast every Sunday. And when we actually see people come to our center, chant, dance, take prasadam, become jubilant, and purchase books, we know that certainly Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always present in such transcendental activities, and he is very pleased and satisfied. Therefore, the members of ISKCON must increase this movement more and more according to the principles that we are presently trying to execute. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, thus being pleased, will smilingly glance upon them, bestowing his favor, and the movement will be successful. Next verse. The great gardener, Lord Chaitanya, personally eats this fruit, and as a result he constantly remains mad. And again the word mata is mentioned, maddened in English, as if helpless and bewildered. Not enough time to read all these purports. They're amazing purports. With his Sankirtan movement, the Lord made everyone mad like himself. We do not find anyone who was not intoxicated by his Sankirtan movement. Some of you have heard it, some of you may remember it. In the 1970s, there was a kind of a group of devotees, and they started to consider that we have to practice Raganuga Bhakti, which is our goal. The goal of our sadhana. It's not the ultimate goal of sadhana, but it's the goal of our sadhana in terms of the practice. To come to Raganuga Bhakti with spontaneous devotion, not just regulated, ordained discipline and so on, but naturally spontaneous devotion. And they thought we have to practice it in terms of that Raganuga Bhakti, practice of Raganuga Bhakti can reveal or bring one to that point where one will realize one's constitutional relationship to Krishna. So you ask the devotees sometimes, what do you want to be? You ask your kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know the kid's going to say something or other. Become an astronaut, become a brain surgeon, neuroscientist or something. They probably won't become that, but some they think like that, heroic thing. Sometimes they will say, oh yeah, I'd like to be a gopi, not spiritual. No, gopi. I'm a gopi. I like the gopi. Gopi is top. No, manjari. Oh, I want to be a peacock. And so they will say we're behaving like this. You're imitating. That's the practice. You start dressing like one. You start thinking like one, hearing about it. Trying to repeat what the eternal sources do and say. Even with the way he was trying to behave, trying to practice becoming a peacock. Prabhupada was enraged. Sometimes when Prabhupada became enraged, it wasn't that was unbona fide, unauthorized what they were doing, but the principle is not absolutely unbona fide, but it's not done like that. But premature in the word, the word premature is a very interesting word, or prematurely. It means prema too early. Premature. Prema too early. So Prabhupada was enraged. He said, this is the greatest festival. You see, you get very enraged sometimes because, the devotees are not ready. And if you dive into these things, you'll drown. You'll drown. It's like a child jumping into the deep end of a pool. You'll drown. Prabhupada was very concerned with devotees. There's so many people out there now trying to push the even devotees that are going into the deep end. They don't know what they're doing. They have to even learn to pattern what the speaker is saying. They're jumping in, thinking this is the solution. It's not. This is the solution. You have to go, according to Lord Chaitanya, this is the process of reaching that goal. It's not jumping in the deep end. We're already in the deep end in this material world in one sense. You can go even deeper. But there's a process to follow. This is it. First of all, person where the Sankirtan movement. This is why you introduced this Sankirtan movement. This is the way. This is the gateway to pure love of God. Love of God is not something which one achieves by one's own endeavor. It's not achieved by a mechanical process. It's not achieved by knowledge. It's not achieved by being very austere. It's not achieved by being very successful in one's activity. It's achieved by this one factor alone. Pleasing. Pleasing Radharani. Pleasing the devotees. Pleasing the spiritual. The gateway to prema, the gateway to love is through pleasing the devotees. Because that is not achievable by sadhana. It's not achievable by knowledge. It's only achieved by love. And it's ultimately only achieved by the mercy of Krishna. If he reveals or he releases us in a way that we're free from all of these shackles, all these conditions and so on. It's only by his mercy. And only by pleasing the pure devotee of the Lord Jesus. Only then is Krishna king. By no other means. This is how we please the pure devotee. With his Sankirtan movement, the Lord made everyone mad like himself. We do not find anyone who is not intoxicated by his Sankirtan movement. Persons who had formerly criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, calling him a drunkard, also ate the fruit and began to dance, saying, very good, very good. Bala bala. What is hair? Who is that hairy man? There it is. What do you say hair was? Bala. Bala. Now to see, bala bala here means very good, very good. And what was that you said to me earlier on?
If you have more hair, you have less money. If you have more hair, you have more money.
There we go. That's money. We know where to go for money. There's the money man here. Another one over here somewhere. There he is. Loaded. Loaded. Oh, he's putting on a show here. You're bored, right?
I'm poor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm poor.
If he didn't shave his head, he had lots of hair. Bald man is even if you shave or don't shave, you're still bald. I don't know how true that is. not everyone agrees on that. It's a bit broad too. Maybe. Anyway, it's just one way of saying you hear these kind of old wives. What do they call old wives' tales or whatever it is? After describing the Lord's distribution of the fruit of love of God, I now wish to describe the different branches of the tree of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyway, after that incident in LA where it really took off, Prabhupada then talked to the leaders of that group. They said, but Srila Prabhupada, we're just getting it from your books. We're just reading it from, Bhagavatam and the 10th canto and the intimate parts of Chaitanya Charitamrita, maybe the nectar of devotion. Prabhupada said, you first of all study the 7th chapter of the Adi Lila. And when you're following that properly, and this one of course is the following, when you're following that, then there may be some questions. Maybe come. But first of all you do that. If you're not doing that, there's no questions. You can't do it. Because it's artificial, it's fake. You can't. It's a great disturbance. So many times probably do this. Oftentimes we see this. You have to go through the steps, because it's by the Lord's mercy that He reveals the next level, or by His mercy, not by our endeavor alone. And Prabhupada Ki Jai. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Radha, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, rate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. You okay? You got a lot of money? If you don't have money, you can't be bored. Only people have the other way around. If you're bored, you have to have a lot of money. Right? If you don't have a lot of money, you can't be bored. Hare Krishna. You ready? You ready?
Yeah.
What are you ready for?
Some.
Oh. The day's only beginning. It's like, for me, it's about 9 o'clock in the morning one time. Hare Krishna. Okay, prasadam time. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Now we're going to reconnect with Krishna through prasad. Srila Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Did they say what was going on in the kitchen?
Yes.
Is it
It was
okay?
outside in the middle oven. I've got it out in the veranda.
What was
I'd
happening?
forgotten about it. It was taking forever to cook, and I thought,
Oh, everything's burnt.
no, it's good. It's good. It's the only warm thing. Everything else is cold now, isn't it?
I'm hot. I'm boiling.
Maharaj, would you like to sit? We have this one for the front of you, if you want to eat there, or there's a table over there.
Whatever's most convenient to you.
Whatever.
What, no, honestly, I don't care that. Whatever's most convenient. What's easy?
Probably best.
If it's easier on the table, I'll sit on the floor.
Alright, we'll move these away.
Whatever makes the doors happy. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Now we get nice. Have we just arrived today?
What do you want this one? 2 things.